Threats to the Imperium. Despite being the largest empire that humanity has ever known, many planets within the Imperium feel isolated and alone in the deep void of space. Across all the peoples and planets of the Imperium, fear gnaws away at the psyche, worming mistrust and desperate faith into the conscious and unconscious mind. Time and again the universe has proved itself an uncaring and frightening place, deeply hostile to the survival of humanity. People fight one another, the warp rages, Xenos attack and worlds die. The people of the Imperium watch their neighbors for signs of heresy and witchery. Mankind prays to the Emperor to protect them from the woes of the universe, of which there are many. Dark gods and demons. Time and again throughout history, the minds of man have proven fertile soil for the seeds of corruption by chaos. There are certain dark powers abroad in the universe that seduce the weak and foolish into the damnable service. These ageless beings, the names unspeakable, prey upon mankind's needs and desires. With honeyed words, forbidden knowledge, bloody rites and festering secrets, they lure humanity to become the slaves. Some within the Imperium choose to worship these demon gods. The ways of these chaos cults are many. Some meet in clandestine rituals of sacrifice and incantation. Others are foolish scholars, meddling with powers beyond their understanding. Others still are organizations, companies or political groups drunk with power gained through pacts with unspeakable creatures of the warp. Perhaps worst of all are the instances of entire worlds that worship the chaos gods through ignorance or choice. All of these profane cultists invite ruin upon themselves, the Imperium and humanity. The Adeptus Terra, Planetary Governors and the Inquisition all watch for these disciples of chaos, for the inevitable consequence of their meddling is a pain, disaster, and bloodshed. The ordinary peoples of the Imperium rightly fear these cults and their malevolent masters. On many worlds, an undercurrent of paranoia, suspicion, and fear of chaos cultists is the norm. The very existence of such fell beings as the demons of the warp is a terrible secret to most citizens of the Imperium, as the Imperium's rulers believe such truths must be hidden from the minds of those who would fall prey to them. A demon is a warp entity, a terrible creature of thought and psychic energy brought forth into existence by the twisted needs of sentient beings, or at least so the High Masters of the Ordo Malia say. To even think of them is to invite their attention, and only the steeliest mind, the most powerful faith in the God Emperor, is enough to overcome their utter, monstrous evil. Inconceivable as it may seem, there are those who would consort with the demon, for they whisper dark things in the night to those who would listen and make many promises of temporal or eternal power. They can be brought forth willingly, by the witch or by certain arcane sorceries, or they may try to force a way through into real space through the unsuspecting portal of an untrained psyche's mind. However they become incarnate, if they achieve the goal, just one demon can bring ruination to all it encounters. One need not talk of the Night of Silence in Atraxian 3 capital city, nor of the lost world of abandoned hope, which to this day is warded by the Inquisition, knowledge of its existence forbidden to all. Make no mistake, to face a demon is to face damnation, to court a demon is to embrace its dark masters. Mutants and witches. The degeneration of the whole human form is one of the ecclesiarchy's greatest concerns. Environmental pollution, deliberate genetic alteration, stellar radiation, alien diets, and simple evolutionary adaptation have wrought manifold changes upon the genome and body of man across his vast stellar empire. Some of these mutants have a standard, stable, morphological type and are tolerated by the authorities, notable among them being the abhuman ogrons and the ancient and noble navigators. But to find whole worlds where the human population has no eyes due to never-ending darkness, or unusually long legs because of millennia of nomadic living, is not unusual. Whether these aberrant populations are declared acceptable or not is the business of the Adeptus Terra. But mutation can also be a sign of the influence of the ruinous powers of chaos. Just as they twist and destroy the minds and souls of man, so too do they toy with his flesh, bending it into profane shapes, gifting strange abilities and creating monsters for the perverse amusement. Where such mutation is present, it is rightly abhorred. Few are willing to tolerate such an aberration within their midst, and fear of mutants runs through the populations of many worlds, even those where such things have happened but once in 100 generations. Perhaps worse still is the constant fear of becoming a mutant oneself. Many folk pray that should this worst of all things occur, they will have the strength to end their own lives before the mob or the Inquisition does it for them. Some poor fools are willing mutants, seeing the distortion of their flesh is a sign of favor from the ruinous powers. They seek out ways to gain more of these mutational gifts, either by begging the dark gods for more of the touch or by doing the bidding in the hope of further reward. Others, more poignantly, claim innocence of any wrongdoing or foul worship. Whatever the case, a mutant is a mutant and must be feared, hated and destroyed. This is but one of the many reasons Imperial citizens tend to be highly intolerant, and many innocent men, upon finding themselves on a new world, have been murdered by a frenzied mob for merely appearing to be different. The related question of witchcraft also exercises the minds of a great many of the Emperor's servants. Indeed, one whole arm of the Inquisition, the Ordo Hereticus, has the finding and destruction of these dangerous beings as one of its primary activities, and several other organizations exist to contain, exploit and control these human psychics. It is said by a heretical few that mankind stands upon the brink of a great evolutionary change in the species, that every standard year the incidence of psyches rises, and that one day the entirety of mankind will become a new, psychic race much like the Eldar. True or not, the psyches of the Imperium are a double-edged sword. On the one hand, they enable the continued existence of the Imperium, the astropaths, the navigators, imperial-sanctioned psyches, the savant primaris psyches of the Astra Militarum, the librarians of the Space Marines, even the Emperor himself. These loyal, good and necessary servants of mankind are psyches all. Yet they are few in number, and for every mind that is strong enough to stand against the perils of the warp, there are hundreds of others whose minor gifts, whether they seem a boon or a burden to the individual, are a clear danger to the world of man. The employ of the talents can lead to intrusions into the physical universe by warp entities, or leave the individual open to manipulation by certain strains of perfidious Xenos. By far the most dangerous are the witches, those who revel in their abilities and seek to use them in a personal quest for power. Alone, they can wreak untold havoc, intentionally or unintentionally. It is for this reason that, of all the threats from within, the populace of the Imperium fears the witch most. It is a hidden danger that can spring up unbidden even inside a man's own family, and parents dread the birth of a witch child above all things. All psyches must be given over to the appropriate imperial body or be purified by death. Those psyches that appear to have evaded the tithe men of the black ships by accident or design are guilty until proven innocent, and the cleansing flame is their only fate. Xenos fear the alien, hate the alien, kill the alien. The Imperial Infantryman's uplifting primer. The Imperial cult teaches that it is mankind's manifest destiny to rule this galaxy. The ecclesiarchy holds that it is the Emperor's will that mankind and mankind alone will bestride the stars, and to that end most Imperial servants fervently bend their lives. There are many other creatures in the galaxy, unclean creatures born of worlds far from the sacred soil of Terra, whose misbegotten forms are an insult to those who wear the shape decreed by the Lord of Man as fitting and right. Some of these creatures are weak and harmless, and easily extirpated, their planets expropriated for the true masters of the stars, their memory expunged. But there are other, stronger alien races that would see the will of the Emperor foiled and mankind cast down. Among them are the savage green-skinned orcs, whose numberless multitudes plague the galaxy with their endless desire for war. Hulking creatures, bigger than a man, they are mindless, yet powerful and unafraid. Elsewhere can be found the fickle Eldar, those who cannot be trusted, beings which extend the hand of friendship whilst clasping a dagger behind the back. Beware these fiends, their machineries of war are as swift and as deadly as their lying tongues. Likewise, the Tyranids, blasphemous monstrosities who reduce worlds to bare rocks in their feeding frenzy, their endless armies made up of hell-spawned bioconstructs. Other things dwell in the dark places of space, the HRUD, whose very presence is poison to the rightful progression of time, the Tower, whose heretical technicians enslave technology to the grotesque ends with no thought for the proper rites, the Verminthicilians. Wild alien mercenaries and reavers. Yet, while the alien is legion, the Imperium claims that man is always the stronger, and the warmongering of Xenos races is but the desperate savagery of those who know that their end draws near. Heretics and traitors. The Imperium is the only rightful authority of mankind, as has been decreed by the Emperor, and his will, executed by the Adeptus Terra, is absolute. But man has ever been a fractious and fickle creature, and not all agree that the Emperor's rule is to be desired. Therefore the rule of terror must by necessity be harsh. The size of the Imperium means the grip of its governance must be loose, and rebellion is only regarded to have taken place when one of the various imperial tithes goes unpaid. Worlds which rise up to shake off the benevolent hand of the Emperor fall into one of the following four categories. Governmental revolt. Occasionally the ruling body of an imperial world might misguidedly decide that the planet would be far better off outside of the Imperium. They might not have been visited for 1,000 Terran years, or the planetary governor may harbor territorial ambitions of his own, but whatever their motivations, the result is the same: ruthless and immediate repression. These revolts must be dealt with swiftly, and graphic examples made of the ringleaders, for if just one planet is shown to succeed in such a quest, others will certainly follow. It may take centuries to quash a revolt, but no human world is ever allowed to secede for long from the Imperium. Assassination, planetary assault, and occasionally exterminators are all righteous tools that may be employed to bring the wayward world to heel. Popular revolt. It is a regrettable fact that many citizens of the Imperium suffer from the most horrendous living conditions in less than ideal environments. From time to time, a particularly bold demagogue may rally his fellows and overthrow a planetary government. This only becomes a problem if they then go on to defy the authority of the Imperium, otherwise the new regime will go unmolested. It is ordinarily not the Adeptus' way to impose a specific governmental form upon a population. Foolishly, flush with success, the rebellious people of a world often go on to do just that, mistakenly identifying the Imperium with their oppression and not the salvation. Also, it is sometimes better on planets with particular strategic importance to ensure continuance of a specific form of governance. In both these cases, the military forces of the Imperium are brought to bear. Xenos infiltration. There are many creatures in the universe that exist by using other creatures as the proxy. These may be creatures from the physical realm, such as gene-stealers, or beings such as the enslavers, who somehow have a material being but dwell within the Empyrean. Sometimes these worlds carry on seemingly as normal, the rest of the galaxy unaware of the dark alien cancer eating at their heart. As often as not, the alien-dominated population will rise up in armed rebellion. In either case, utter destruction of the infested inhabitants is, regrettably, the best course of action. This can be effected via exterminators, through tectonic destabilization, the use of cyclonic torpedoes, or viral, general or geno-tailored bombardment, dependent upon the importance of the world and the possibilities for subsequent recolonization. Demonic infiltration. A planet may turn to worship of the dark gods under a number of circumstances. Suppression of such revolts must be handled carefully. Destruction of the population may be the ruinous power's actual aim, as the psychic feedback in the Imperium caused by the sudden deaths of millions of people can be enough to permanently open a rift between the warp and real space. Planetary invasion by specialist formations like the Space Marines or the Grey Knights is advisable, followed immediately by planetary cleansing or destruction through exterminators.